In my last video, we have discussed about the basics of AMDP procedure. So we saw that in the how to do the normal procedure implementation of the AMDP. We took one example as well. As you already know that from the AMDP declaration part, in the AMDP declaration part, we don't give any AMDP related thing. But we have some of the AMDP option in the declaration part of the method also we can give. You might have heard or you might have not heard, but that is the things. There are two options are there in the declaration part itself. We can give that one is the read only option and second is CDS session client, and we can specify the client. The first option is the AMDP option as a read only. We give this option when in the implementation part as well. We will use by database processor, which language, which database, and we will give at last options is read only. We give in the implementation part, but we can give this option is in the declaration part as well. But whenever we are giving the options in the declaration part, it's mandatory to have this interface in our public section. Otherwise, we will get the syntax error. Suppose I have given this AMDP options here and I have not created the method as a AMDP procedure. I didn't use by database procedure. I did the implementation as a normal method implementation. On those cases, there will be no impact of this particular these two options. Whatever we are giving these two options, there will be no impact. So we will discuss what will be the impact about the AMDP options read only. We already know. So whenever we define read only database procedures or functions, we can only read the data from the database. We can't write or we can't change any data in the database. That is the first and simplest form of the things. The second option is the CDS session client. Before discussing the CDS session client, we have to understand about some of the global variable. So as I told you, these are the slides I have prepared. So first is if implementation is the normal. So as I told you that AMDP options, if we are giving, if normal implementation we are doing, there will be no impact of this AMDP options. And tag interface is mandatory. Which tag interface? If IMDB marker SDP, it is mandatory. And if it is once it is specified is read only, we can't do any modification and change. And this option CDS session client and current client we will discuss in bit. Before that, we have to understand the global variables about the ABAP-specific session variable in the SAP HANA. Like we have the system variable in ABAP. You already might have, we already know that the system variable like the mandate which stored the client field, uname which stored the current username, lang which is stored the what is your current language, and the date, like that we have the user DIT that is stored time. Like that we have system variables. We can access this system variable in any program, in all the program, any point of time. This field already filled. The same way in the SQL script language also they have some global variable. They call session variable or global variable. But for our purpose, when we write the code in the SQL script inside the AMDP procedure or function, that time also we can utilize this HANA specific session variable. We have to use one function called session context, and we can call this function and we can get these values. And some of those variables are ABAP specific, like this client, CDS client, application user, local. These are the mapping already I have shown. These are the mapping are there. Local underscore SAP which is stored the side language value. This whenever we call the CDS table function or procedure, these values will be mapped from this variable to this variable. But one more important thing you can see, the client and CDS client values are having the same value mandate. There is a slight difference in there. That is very important to understand the second option of the AMDP option. What is that second option? AMDP option, CDS session client. To understand that one, what is the use of that? To understand that, we have to understand what all are the session variable which we are going to access and how to access those session variable in our program. So what is the difference? Whenever we are accessing the by default, both are having the same value, not an issue. Both are having the same mandate value. They will be having the by default. But in some of the cases, CDS client value will differ. So this value will come from some of the case. What we will do, we will write normal select statement. In that case, not an issue, because we will not pass any client field there, because our select statement in OpenSQL, implicit client handling will happen. Then client will be passed explicitly at the data interface level, and then it will be sent to the database level. But some of the time we use the using client and we pass some other client to get the data from the other client. In that case, in those cases, whenever we are writing the execution of ABAP, when we are using client, that time what will happen, that particular client value will be set to the CDS underscore client. And client and CDS client will be always will be different in that case, because client is having the current client and CDS client value will be having what we have passed in using client. If you don't know what is using client, and you can watch out my previous video where I have explained what is the difference between the using client, and there is some older approach, client specified also is there. What is the difference between them and when we have to use that also I have explained. The link of that video in the description as well, and the I button as well. The next thing which is relevant for us at this point of time, whenever we call the AMDP method by using the AMDP option CDS session client, this client value will be passed to the CDS underscore client. Why we have to pass? What is the use? We will see. But before that, we will jump into the system and we will try to see how to access those variables, this HANA specific global variable, how to access in our AMDP procedures and AMDP function. As you already aware from my last video, we have created one AMDP class and AMDP procedure to get the top and flop customer from the VBAK and Kunnar table, KNA1 table. Okay, so we will, in the same AMDP class, we will create another method to access the session variable. So what I will do, I have to create one type declaration where, so this is the, this is the additional code I have wrote. I will explain quickly because other things I have already explained in my last videos. I don't want to repeat those things again. So first things, we declare the simple type structure where we have to get the client, CDS client username, language and datum using the SQL script global variable. Second thing, I have declared one method, get session variable AMDP. This is the method I have declared. Inside this method, I am getting the data, this particular session variables, client, CDS client, username, language and date. One additional I did, I use one raising CX AMDP error. So you have to always use this raising clause to avoid the AMDP dumps. So that's a very important thing. We are getting one error. Obviously, this method is not implemented. You just have to click on Control 1 and this work. Let Eclipse do add implementation of the method. So one method which we have created in last video, and this method we have created in this video. How to convert this video to the AMDP procedure? You already know from my last video. You have to use by. You have to use by database procedure, control space, and you have to use by database procedure for HANA database. And language which you want to use, obviously for HANA database, which language is there? SQL script. Sorry, you have to write SQL script. And the AMDP options also we can declare. As of now, I will show you one option only, AMDP option. I can declare read only either here. This is the AMDP options. One of the option, as soon as you write the AMDP option, you have to mandatorily define one of the option. So one of the option I am using read only. This will be used only to read the data from the database, not to update. that option I can define here as well, but not required. So both are the same. If you options, you will write read only here, and or you will write there. There is no difference. Both will work same way. Okay, so that is the additional thing you can put in the declaration part itself. That's the only advantage. And second thing, now we have to get the client values. So what all are the value I have to get? First I have to get the client value. To get the client value, as I told you, we have to call the session context function of the SQL script functions. So how to call that? So what you have to do, you just have to get that value and you have to call session as session underscore context. Well, here help is not there, context, and you have to pass that particular your which value you want to get, client, client, client. It will return us the client field. I'm getting the error, or this dot will not work here. Obviously we have to write the semicolon. Now it is okay. So we have to get the first client field. What all are the other fields we have to get? You can do control space and you can get control Z, control space. One second. I have already copy pasted this one, or I can copy from here. CDS. I want to get the CDS client. I can get this one. Same way we have to do this one. Control C, control V, and I have to copy. Second, I have to get CDS client. I don't remember this names. CDS underscore client. It is easy. You slowly will remember this one. Then control alt arrow down button. And third, we have to get the third parameter. What we are uname. We have to get uname. And the uname should be application underscore application user. Sorry, not underscore. Application user. You have to get control V. And for fourth name, we have to get the lang and date. So what we can do? Control alt arrow down button, and first is the language and second is the date I want to get. So language is having something called this, typically local SAP, and next one is the SAP system date. SAP underscore system underscore date. We use this one usually, that is the reason. Step F1. So I have filled these all the field values, and let me activate this one. Step F1. And let me activate control F3. It got activated. Now let me call this method in my program where I have called same get user detail, where same program I will call this method get session variable AMDP. For that I have to open that program. So where is the program? Let me load all the full load. So one more thing you can do, I can't see all the code, only I can see the classes. I want to see the reports as well. So you can see load full content. Then you can see now two program also. A last one, our program was this one. So this was the program where we were calling this particular. Let me open it parallelly. We were calling this particular get customer detail. Today we will call get session detail. But one more important thing, no need to, since it is I declared as a static method intensely. Yeah, last time we declared as a instance method. This time we declare as a static method, so we can directly call this method using this class name. Control V. And what you have to do, you have to do control space, and you will get shift enter you can do, and this method will be called. You can put try catch block. As of now, I just want to get these values. And one more important thing, I want to declare one work area here to get these values. So what I will do, data, I will declare session ls underscore session variable session variable that should come from, this should be type of, I have already declared this type, I can use from the same type because it's in the public section of this particular class. I can access directly type as well. Control space you will do, then I can, this is the session variable, like that I can also declare. So in this way I have declared the ls variable also. So what I will do, I will get these all the values, control shift greater than session variable, control C, control V, and control space. I want to get not CDS client, I want to get the client value, sorry, control space, client value, and the second value will be control, let me copy out this one first. But this is not client, this is CDS client, CD, control space, CDS client, and this is username. So control space, uname is there, yeah, uname is there, and this is language is there, language is there, and the datum last D, control space datum. So I'm getting these 4 values, and let me print out, let me comment out this one as of now, this is not required, control shift less than, and let me display these values only using this variable, control C, control V, shift F1, and let me do control F3. So I hope you got understood. So what I did, I call this particular AMDP. First I have, let me minimize this one. First what I did, I did the AMDP procedure implementation, where I'm getting these all the session clients, and here I'm accessing this session client in ABAP report program, and I'm trying to display what all are the values are coming. This CDS client value, what is the CDS, the same values as is the system variable. You can print the system variable also to see what all are the values of the system, and you can compare, but I think you already know the system variable. We will try to get the global variables, and we are trying to display. Let me activate this one, control F3, and let me deactivate this one also, control F3, and do the F9 quickly to see the data, what data is coming. So as you know, client and CDS client both are same, and username, whatever the username, language, and the date we got the today's date. As you saw, we have both the values, client and the CDS client are same, but when it will get differ, when it will get changed, that is very important thing. So the purpose of second AMDP option to change the CDS client value, when you click on the second option, that what is the CDS session client, what is this second option, CDS session client, either you can pass as a current client as a session client. In this case also, if you let me activate control F3, in this case what I did, what I told the system, the CDS session client value I want to pass as the current client. By default it is current, coming as a current client, but let me activate control F3, and if I do again F9 on this particular method, you can see I got the same values whatever I was getting. There is no CDS client because I pass CDS client as a 200, but I want to pass CDS client as the 800 client instead of the current client. How to pass? You have to pass the value as a client CLNT. So we are getting one error. Whenever we are passing the specific client over here, we have to pass as a importing parameter as well that particular client. So that's a very important thing, importing parameter, and the value IV underscore CLNT, and I will use same this LB underscore IV, not importing, so that is the reason IV. I didn't use here naming convention, that is okay, fine, you can use if you want. IV client I want to use, this type should be mandate or psi mandate you can put, that's both are the same, you can put like this also. It's ABAP only, so that is the reason I can say insert. You can put psi mandate as well. Shift F1, I pass now, instead of passing this that current client, I passed some different kind, that error got removed. When I didn't pass this importing parameter, then it was expecting me us to pass this importing parameter. So this is very important thing. Whenever you are passing some other client, then you have to pass, apart from some other client, you have to pass this this value as well. Now when I will call this particular AMDP function, AMDP procedure, let me activate first Control F3, this one, and let me call this AMDP procedures with the different value. Obviously I have to export some values from here, so I will write exporting tab. I have to pass some value, control space, what value, IV client I have to pass is a some other client I will pass instead of passing the current client. Shift F1. Let me activate this also, Control F3. Now what I did, I am passing some other client value. I want to see how the this IV client I pass is a 800 using the CDS session client AMDP options. How it will impact, I want to see. Let me do F9. You can see current client is 200, CDS client value got changed. It is 800 and you are passing other values is intact. So I hope you know what is the use of this CDS session client. What is the use of this AMDP option of the CDS session client. But when we have to use actually this CDS session client in our AMDP implementation, that we will discuss in my next video. Before going to that video, please like this video, subscribe this channel and share these videos with others as well. With that, thank you and happy learning.